Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I cannot believe it has been, it's been 4 years since the start of my degree to now, and I've since finished all of my exams and waiting to graduate. And I believe it's been almost 4 years since I started this YouTube channel as well, so what a whirlwind. Today we're going to be reflecting on these past 4 years and just my degree in general. And while we do that, I'll also be taste testing some interesting space-themed snacks. We've got some of course, the ice cream sandwich, which everybody knows and loves. We've got some freeze-dried strawberries, which I bought from the Space Center, so technically they are spacey snacks. You can't convince me otherwise. And we've also got some an interesting import from the US, which are these Warheads Galactic Mix cubes. So very interesting. I've also got some notes here on the courses that I took in my first and second year, because I've actually almost forgotten the names of them, some of them, so even I need a bit of help here. Right, so I think I'll start with these interesting galactic cubes. I'm guessing they're just very sour sugar pockets or something, I don't know. And they also paint your tongue blue, which is interesting. They're also quite healthy as well. See, they've got all of your calcium that only 2%. Okay, well, never mind. Interesting, one serving gives you 30% of your daily intake of sugar. And I mean, like, the maximum intake, I think according to the FDA, I think this is from the US, so very, very healthy. Wow. Oh, so you can't actually, I don't know if you can see that here, you can't actually tell which one's which, because they're all the same colour. I thought they'd be no, they actually do look the same on these. So I guess we'll just guess as to which one we get. We've either got raspberry, fruit punch, or cherry, so that'll be interesting. Here we go. Oh, that one's definitely raspberry. They're not fizzy at all, they're just sweet. They taste a lot like I shouldn't talk when my mouth is full. Yeah, that one's definitely blue raspberry. So if you're starting off with a physics degree, of course, all the information that I'm going to give you relates to an IOP credited physics degree within the UK, so this would absolutely be very different for other continents. For anything in North America, for example, where most of my viewers are from, and from India, it would also be very different. So there is a little bit of nuance here. In my first year, if I remember correctly, we did 4 core classes. So this would be things like mechanics, thermodynamics, and whatnot. We did 3 elective classes, so that's astrophysics, space science. So whatever relates to the main degree itself, the physics part of the degree is the core, makes up the core component, and then anything that relates to the flavour. So I did physics with astrophysics. Those would be the elective classes that you can actually pick and choose from. So in my case, I did astrophysics, space science, and modern physics, which relates to things like new technologies like particle accelerators and whatnot. And it was all really fun, actually. Let's try this one. It just tastes of sweet cherry. The cherry flavour comes on a little bit later. It's like delayed taste. I thought with artificial cherry flavouring it would taste like cherry bakewells, because a lot of the cherry flavoured things that we have in the UK taste like that. It's not the greatest, but this actually tastes like regular cherry. Very nice. On top of your on top of your classes, your cores and your electives, you'll also be doing lab work, and that's quite a big component in your first and second years. This is usually lab work will be very guided. You'll have instructors and PhD students who will be helping you with any problems, and it's really just teaching you how to do an experiment, but also how to take notes from an experiment in a lab book and log things, which is extremely important once you get to, you know, actually doing research, or if you want to have a job in analysing data or whatever you do that's physics related. It's a really key component. And so in my first year, a lot of it was just training you how to take notes, how to actually practice science. We also had a computing module, which we actually used the program R, which apparently other universities don't use that at all. They use Python. So yeah, we did a lot of R, and I mean, I really like the language. I'd already learned how to use it in A-level. But I'm guessing if you're going to be doing a physics degree at another university that's not my own, I would recommend learning Python. This one's fruit punch. I'm really lucky I got one of each flavour first time round. No, that one's not for me. No way. Okay, great. Well, I'm just going to put that one to the side. Yeah, I'm trying to reflect back on first year, because all of my first year was online. We'd have quite a lot of workshops. I think we had 2 a week, one for maths and one for just regular physics of whatever was being taught that semester. And, you know, we'd do a load of practice questions in groups, and we'd get a lot of assistance from, you know, our lecturers and whatnot, and it was really, really useful. I think those were probably the most useful parts of the average week. Yeah, in second year it was fewer classes, fewer workshops, if I remember correctly. So with each year you sort of get more independent in the way you study. So in first year it's very guided. You learn what to do essentially, and that as you get to the later years it's very much independent. You're working from home or in the common room, doing your own thing, I guess. In second year I think we started off with electromagnetism, so it was the same as the first year course but a lot more difficult, evidently. What else did we do? Oh yeah, we had this really weird class where it was just a mishmash of a load of stuff. So we had special relativity in the first unit of the course, and then we had particle physics in the second unit, which was taught absolutely hilariously. It was taught by one of our lecturers who hates particle physics. He's an astrophysicist at heart, and my god, did he absolutely make it known that he hated the course. And then for the third unit we had quantum mechanics as well. Oh god, I hate quantum mechanics so much, but I actually did really well in that. I'm really surprised by that. Yeah, and then for our third one, what did we do? We did condensed matter, if I remember correctly. I think that was in the second semester. So yeah, that was fun. I mean, it's condensed matter. How you either love it or you hate it, in my opinion. What else did we do? I think we had maths. Oh no, we had thermo again, but this was thermal and statistical physics. Yeah, that was quite a tricky course, if I remember correctly. We did quite a lot of partial derivatives, general thermodynamics, but also just, you know, it had a lot of particle physics incorporated into it as well, and probability. I mean, it was a great course, but I think that was probably one of my most difficult ones by far. We also did math. Oh yeah, with every year you will do a maths course as well. In the first year we did 2, in the second we did 1, and then in our third year, provided you're doing an integrated masters, you'll be doing maths again. But I'm not gonna lie, I love maths. If I didn't do physics, I'd be doing maths, and I just aced all of that. It's just, I love maths. What can I say? Right, so I think next up we'll be doing freeze-dried strawberry slices. I know technically they're not space food, but come on, it was astronauts eat it, therefore it's space food. Very nice. I mean, it's a freeze-dried strawberry slice. It's not exactly, you know, it's not exactly the most amazing thing in the world, but hey, you definitely get a good sort of concentrated flavour though. I do love freeze-dried fruit. They're so expensive though, like, I don't know how much this thing cost me. But for 14 grams of strawberries, I think it was definitely above £3. It might have been £3 or £4, roughly $4 to $5. But I mean, they are delicious, so can't complain. Yeah, in third year we started off with quantum mechanics, which is the greatest way to start off the year, if you ask me. Yeah, we did things like probabilities of particles, particle wells, infinite barriers, finite barriers, all of that stuff. But we also did the postulates. You know, you can't determine momentum and position, yada yada, all of that. And then we also did the Zeeman effect and spin-orbit coupling in the third unit, which I thought at first was quite a departure from the other two units. But actually, no, it was also really interesting as well. And then we covered that again in the second core course, which was radiation and matter, where we talked about spin-orbit coupling a little bit more, but we went more into other elements, such as helium. I nearly forgot the word helium. What else did we do? We did lasers as well as part of that course, different types of gas counters, whatnot. And then we did nuclear physics as well, which was quite nice, since I don't think we had touched that since A level as part of like a thing on its own. But we went into a lot of depth. We learned a lot about nuclear reactors and whatnot. It was really fun, actually. Although I definitely didn't say that when we were actually taking the course. I think one of my funniest moments was in the second course, so lasers. We were in a lecture theatre underground in the geology building, and the fire alarm went off. And usually when it rings twice, it's a drill and then it will stop, which is typical for, you know, once a week in the morning, that will happen. But it went on for a good 10 minutes and our lecturer did not let us go. We were thinking, like, we really should go, there's definitely a fire going on. And in truth, we actually should have. It was an actual fire. But, you know, we were just sat there, like, not able to leave, having to listen to lasers and whatnot. Although, reflecting back, I think the lecturer we had, he was by far one of the most busy people in the department, mainly because lecturing isn't his main thing. His main thing is actually, you know, going abroad and doing conferences and like meetings with people from basically everywhere around the world. So I could understand why he must have been thinking, like, I do not want to reschedule this lecture, we gotta keep rolling here. But my god, that was quite funny. Oh yeah, on top of the core courses, our electives, we only got to pick 2 that year, if I remember correctly. Or did we pick more? No, I think we only picked 2. I did quasars and cosmology. That was kind of the course that I'd been waiting for 2 years at that point. I was really excited and it was a great course. We talked about AGN, not just quasars themselves, but just the general active galactic nucleus and all of the components of that and their spectral variability, things like that. And then with cosmology, we kind of just covered all of the basics. I don't even know where to start with that, but we just covered everything. And then for my second semester, I did stellar astrophysics, and that was really fun. We did interiors, convective zones, conduction zones, how that differs from small stars to big stars, which I didn't even know it did. It swaps around, which mind-blowing. We talked a little bit about metallicity and how that can change a couple properties, and general sort of things like ionization, you know, Schlumberger zones, whatnot. It was really, really fun. And then on top of that, we also did, there was this really weird sort of, like a soft skills sort of course, where I picked physics and education, and that's what really kickstarted all of the space crochet that I do. Yeah, so it was essentially learning about science communication, more geared towards a younger audience, so kids and stuff, but I definitely tried to keep it as broad as possible with mine. I think some other people did industry placements. You could work with JPL, Boeing maybe, Airbus, one of those, I can't remember. I think in third year, this is when we stopped actually doing, you know, labs, like going into a set room with some experiments and a notebook that's already got all of the instructions laid out. We did a group research project instead, and that was when we were actually just working with a lecturer on something, you know, either space science, astrophysics, or just regular physics related. I did estimating masses of, I think it was 7 AGN using their spectra, and I thought it was really fun. Yeah, we had just one spectra for 7 AGN. We were first having to determine whether or not it was a type 1 or type 2 AGN. I think most of them were type 2 actually. Yeah, and then we had to sort of figure out the redshift, figure out how fast the gas was moving. But yeah, we were able to estimate some masses, and I think I got some pretty good ones, roughly 10 to the 7, 10 to the 8 solar masses. And yeah, I actually found that was a really fun project. These are so delicious. If only they had freeze-dried raspberries, those would have been, I love raspberries so much. I love strawberries too, but In 4th year, things change quite a lot because you're not actually doing a bachelor's now, so the same sort of schedule, you don't have the same schedule, it's very different. All of your courses should probably be electives. So for me, I picked in the first semester, I did scientific data analysis, which I think is quite self-explanatory, and general relativity, which is essentially cosmology-centered maths. And I found it quite fun. Definitely if you're going to pick something like general relativity, I'd brush up beforehand on the notation, because it does differ a little bit from, regular notation in that, something to the power of something doesn't necessarily mean it's actually to the power of that thing. It's referencing a type of space. It was very independent. The workload does ramp up a fair amount, but it shouldn't be anything somebody can't handle. In 2nd semester, I've just completed this and it's just escaping my mind now. What did I do? I did Advanced Space Science, AST for short, and then, oh god, I'm really forgetting. Supermassive black holes and large-scale structures. So this is essentially quasars and cosmology, but way more refined, way more advanced. Essentially, we were talking more so about accretion disks, warps, tilts, all that kind of stuff. General how accretion works, merging, large-scale cosmology, of course, expansion, overdensity growth, fluctuations in the CMB, the power spectrum, all of these kinds of things. You can tell that this was my favourite course by far because I remember so much about it. Yeah, on top of these elective courses, we had a literature review in the 1st semester, which I don't think most universities do anymore. So instead of us having a 45 credit module where it's just a big research project, it was split into a 15 credit literature review where you get a topic and a supervisor and you just write an 8,000 word report, well, not a report, a review on all of the current science, where we stand right now, what we've got to learn, all the gaps. I found my one really fun. I did mine on cosmic neutrino sources and it was so great. I learned so much about gamma ray bursts. AGN, once again, I thought I had learnt a lot about them in my 3rd year with my courses and my group research project, but I learnt way more with the literature review as well, and I could dive into it as deep or as shallowly as I wanted to. It was great. And then for the actual research project, that's a 30 credit module. I did mine on whether we could estimate Hubble's constant with standard sirens, or in my case, dark sirens, which are binary black hole mergers. These will be stellar-sized, not sun-like, much bigger than the sun. I think at least 25 solar masses each in order for it to actually be a black hole, but these could be hundreds of solar masses. Not supermassive size for sure, not intermediate size, but yeah, very large black holes. Because these ones have short enough timescales for us to actually detect the gravitational wave, albeit with a lot of difficulty nonetheless. And yeah, I think I used a simulation. I'll probably make a video on this later, but I used a simulation, the Eagle simulation to be specific, and I generated some mergers and saw if we could figure out the best fit Hubble's constant depending on how well they match up with the galaxy positions. And I found that I would constantly be getting a systematic overestimate no matter what I did. So I was able to sort of suss that, if we, in the real life, if we have a lot of binary black hole mergers and we're able to, get their distances and whatnot, we probably will be getting slight overestimates, which maybe we might be able to sort of correct. I don't know. But it was fun nonetheless. In my 4th year, I found that the amount of essays you write and reports is ridiculously large compared to compared to the previous years. So in like your 1st year and stuff, most of your, how many did I do? I think I made 3 reports, 3 or 4. One was a pair report, another one was an individual one, and then we had a group report, which was separate to the pair ones. Yeah, and then in 2nd semester, I think it was roughly the same as well. In third semester, yeah, it was all completely individual. It was just your group research project. And then in fourth year, not only do you write a report for your literature review and your research project, I also had to write reports for some of my elective courses because that was how they were assessed. So all in all, I think I wrote 4 8,000 word reports. So that was fun. I know some of my friends had to do 6, so. Right, and now we're on to ice cream sandwich. I'm wondering if this will actually crumble or not. Oh. Well, right, it's definitely a little bit broken up, but that's okay. Oh, nice. Actually, what's inside it? Right, so actually, before I eat the ice cream sandwich, I should say for my electives what I did as well. So I talked a little bit about what I did for the 4th year. In the 1st year, you go over very basic astrophysics. I also did some space science modules as well, so I do know a little bit about that as well. I mean, they're very interchangeable. So for astrophysics, yeah, we talked a little bit about parallax, general sort of astronomy, as in like looking out through a telescope and, you know, how telescopes work kind of thing. In 2nd year, it was more so on galaxies, specifically the spiral structures, how to classify a galaxy, that kind of stuff. 3rd year, yeah, we did quasars and cosmology, AGN, variability, spectral things, you know, different parts of it, the broad line region, narrow line region, dusty torus, whatnot. And then for cosmology, it was, you know, inflation, different components that add to density, you know, mass, dark energy, dark matter, proof of dark matter, all of that stuff. God, I love that course so much. And then 4th year, for our electives, of course, supermassive black holes, accretion disks, cosmology, large-scale structure, webs, filaments, overdensities, overdensity growth, density fluctuations, power spectrum, mergers, everything, basically everything. And then for advanced, oh yeah, for space science, nearly forgot. For 1st year, I'm trying to remember what we did. We did things like Hohmann transfers, different types of orbits, things like altitude changes, density, pressure, things like that. For 2nd year, oh goodness. Oh, we did the evolution of the solar system is quite a big part of the course. Migration, planetary migration, I'm trying to remember what we did for the 2nd one. We did sort of a little bit about planetary atmospheres and things you can sort of, what we can deduce from things like the spectra and stuff. I think the coursework was actually quite fun because we each got given sort of a random exoplanet and we were told to like write as much as we could about it, trying to find out as much we could. It was really fun. Oh, that was actually really, really cool. And then 3rd year, I didn't do space science, but 4th year I did space science again. I think we had, what did I do space science? The options for 2nd semester were quantum theory of solids, supermassive black holes, which I picked, and then nanotech, and and then of course space science, and so I was more interested in the space science one. We learned about, in the first bit we learned about propulsion systems, RTGs, so different power systems, how spacecraft are formed, you know, different components and whatnot, what you need to account for, such as altitude, different orbits, how you make different orbits, cooling systems, everything. It was actually really fun. And then in the 2nd part of that course, we learned, it was definitely more focused on Mars and the Martian geology and climate. We did a little bit about minerals, study of minerals. How we sort of deduce that through different types of spectral analysis, which I didn't even know there were multiple types of spectral analysis that you could do. So that was interesting. We learned a bit about X-ray fluorescence. We did a lot of X-rays. I learned quite a lot from that course, and even just doing the revision coming up to the exam, I think I definitely learned a lot more then as well. So yeah, it was great fun. What can I say? Here we go. This is such a tiny bar. I paid $5.50 as well. It was so expensive. This is gonna go everywhere. Oh no, okay. Right, so we've got a little bit of vanilla here. and a little bit of chocolate here. That is tasty. That does taste like ice cream. That's so weird. It really does. The biscuit's quite nice as well. Very crunchy, of course. It's like warm ice cream with a very different texture to ice cream, obviously. I don't really know how to explain it. Not temperature-wise, but taste-wise, it's a very warm taste. It definitely tastes like a soft scoop vanilla ice cream. Well, there's no real vanilla in it, obviously, but it does taste like that. The biscuit's quite nice as well. It's very crisp, a little bit like a petit beurre, but even those are a little bit moist, you know, they do have some moisture in it and a little bit of softness, but this is very wafer sort of crunch, you know. So I also wrote down some questions that I found on the internet. So you probably would have quite a few, if you're somebody who's looking to do a degree in physics, perhaps you're doing your A-levels right now. These are some of the questions that I found. You might have some of these questions as well, so hopefully I'll be able to answer some. Although that being said, if you do have other more specific questions, I'd be really happy to answer them in the comments section as detailed as possible, because I really do feel like if you are going into such a degree as physics, chemistry, biology of the many kinds that our university offers, of course, being very informed of what's going to happen and what you're going to do, I think is very important, because with the STEM degrees in particular, they're a lot more work than other degrees. I don't want to be you know, rude to any other degrees. I'm sure you guys do a lot of work, some of you, but you know, physics degrees in particular, it's a lot of coursework. It's a lot of your time, of your brain power at times, but you get a very amazing qualification at the end of it, and you should definitely, before you apply, you should definitely know what you're getting into, because it's a lot. So one question I found was, the most common one was, is a physics degree hard? And yes. Short answer is yes, of course. It's a lot harder than most other degrees. For context, somebody that I know did a degree that was related to medicine, but not quite. They were complaining about going in 3 times a week for lectures, because that was quite a lot for them. And then I think they had 3 big bits of coursework due in each year, I think in the second year. And that was apparently quite a lot. Whereas with physics, you will have coursework due in constantly, especially in your early years. And then the coursework in your later years, such as your 3rd and 4th year, will be less frequent but much larger. They make up a larger percentage of your degree mark as well. So either way you have it, 1st year, 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, it's a lot. You'll be doing a lot more. It will take up a lot more of your time, both, you know, in campus, you know, when you're going on to campus and doing lectures, and also outside of that. So you should be independently studying probably a lot more than your peers who are doing other degrees. So you might not be able to, you know, go out to as many socials as other people, but in reality, if you're doing a degree, the degree comes first, and that shouldn't be a problem, if you see what I mean. You can get quite a big variation with types of physics degrees across the UK and across the world as well. Of course, you've got, you know, just a physics degree, you can do a bachelor's or a master's with that. But of course, like me, you can do physics with astrophysics, physics with space science. Some other universities offer physics with additional data analysis, which I think is a really useful extra sort of component to a physics degree. I've also seen physics with cosmology, and I've even seen astronomy standalone bachelor's degrees, which I thought was really cool. Another question that I think some students during open days have asked me is, how often do I work or study? And it will depend on the year. Typically, they do expect you to work a 60-hour work week. That's just translating the amount of hours you need to work based on the number of credits each year has. I think it was a 60-hour work week. It's quite a lot, but you definitely don't need to work that much. I found that I could get, you know, I did not need a full 60-hour work week of just intense studying to get good grades, for sure. In your 3rd and 4th year, I would really recommend, you know, taking as much time as possible, especially when you're writing up reports and stuff. Really put a lot of time into that. Right, I'm gonna try strawberry now. I might as well have not said strawberry because I cannot taste the strawberry at all. Maybe it's because I've been having the freeze-dried strawberries that I'm now used to the nice taste of actual strawberries. I can't taste anything with that. Also, one tip from me, I found that not necessarily working like treating your degree like a 9 to 5 per se, but trying to stick to a schedule such as a 9 to 5 was quite useful for me. I don't really know what's wrong with my brain, but I cannot stay focused for, you know, a full 8 hours with like you know, 1 hour break for lunch. That just does not work for me. So for me, you know, I did stretch it out a little bit beyond that, but having like a schedule of like a bit like treating it like a work job was quite useful for me, because eventually after a good 10 minutes or so of trying to work on stuff, I did get into a nice flow state and I was working, but with a lot more frequent breaks and stretching out the work day a little bit more. I remember a kid asked me how often do I get coursework, and this will definitely vary based on the year. So in my first year, I do remember having to submit at least one thing a week. I think it alternated between just regular physics and maths. So we had like a workshop sheet that we had to turn in, or I think it was core exercises, so homework. And yeah, so I think it averaged out about once a week, including things like, you know, your term test, so that's the end of topic test. And then of course in your 3rd semester we do exams, so that's a little bit different there. I think for 2nd year it also roughly averaged out to a week, but although I do remember us getting a couple gaps here and there. And then with 3rd year it's a lot less than once a week, but the work that you get, the work that you submit, it is definitely of, you know, a much higher standard. So you're not just submitting 5, you know, answers to some short questions once a week. It's like a proper coursework thing that you would submit. I think it averaged out to maybe like a couple of assignments a month. But I can't remember. I think it was very infrequent. And then for 4th year, you know, you don't get that kind of structure at all. Usually everything would be due in all within the same week, sometimes within the same day, which was absolutely amazing. But yeah, you'll be submitting very rarely, a couple times in the semester itself, but these will be very big assignments, so, you know, 8,000 word essays and whatnot. And sometimes you will also be submitting assignments during the holidays, because you're expected to work during those and of course revise, which please do revise during your holidays. Have some fun, but also set aside some time to revise. You will thank yourself later. Ooh, something else that usually gets asked is, how do I prepare for a degree? So I do get some kids who they finish their A-levels and they say, oh, I'll need to prepare in the summer coming up to the beginning of 1st year. And to that, I have to say, you really don't have to. If anything, maybe tackle some further maths. So, you know, A-level further maths topics, if you haven't taken that subject. If you have, you're fine, because those will probably come up in your 1st and 2nd year a little bit. But just have a little nosy around and just have a feel for what those kinds of topics are. You definitely don't need to master them within the summer. Don't worry about that. Your lecturers are paid to teach you, so please don't worry about preparing a lot. The one thing I would say is that if there are any gaps in your knowledge from A-level stuff, fill those gaps and definitely strengthen your knowledge on that kind of stuff. And my final question that somebody asked me was, do I need to know how to code and coding languages? Yes, you do need to know how to code, but once again, your teachers should be teaching you these with additional classes that usually in my case they were parts of the lab work, so you'd have additional computing classes and computing assignments. We use the computer code R, like I said before. However, most universities actually use Python as the standard, so I would definitely recommend learning just a little bit of Python, just sort of get used to like just very basic stuff. Your lecturers will teach you once again about the more detailed things that will relate more towards the degree, so don't worry about that. But maybe as like a baseline thing, learn how to load up Python or Visual Studio Code, Idle, whatever interface you want to use. Learn how to load that up and just play around with that a little bit. Definitely don't need to be an expert in it to start a physics degree for sure. Right, so of all of these, I think definitely the freeze-dried strawberries were my favourite. I did quite like the ice cream, although the strawberry flavouring really was not there. I think these were also quite nice as well, although the fruit punch ones, I think the flavour was just not quite harmonious with itself, if you see what I mean. I'm not very good at describing taste and things like that. There's a reason I'm not becoming a professional taste tester. In terms of my next steps, I will be starting a PhD at the same university, which, yay! I mean, I'm a little bit nervous because with a PhD, the workload definitely ramps up compared to your masters, and of course your bachelor's. So it will be a lot more work, but I think I should be able to do it. I'm really interested in what I'm going to be studying as well, which is going to be the warp within the Milky Way. So something that people don't actually know is that the Milky Way isn't actually a flat disk like we always draw it out to be, and pretty much every other spiral galaxy. It's actually got a little bit of an S-bend warp. So I'm going to be trying to investigate what's going on with that. Right, so I'm going to finish off all of these sweet treats, and I might even share some with my partner if he's awake upstairs. Yeah, what can I say apart from that was a long 4 years. There were some ups and downs, of course. Had some housemate struggles, some housing struggles. But at the end of it, you know, I'm really proud of all the work I've done. I think for my 4th year in particular, I put in a lot of effort, and I could really see it with, you know, not just my marks, but I've been really enjoying the course. And, you know, it's been a great year. It's been a great 4 years, but my last year in particular, I've really enjoyed a lot. What can I say except thank you for joining me within these 4 years. You've seen me go from just a little first year student over to essentially a Master of Physics now. I'm just waiting for the actual graduation itself, which will be in July, so great stuff. Yeah, thank you very much for tagging along, especially if you've been a long time subscriber to the channel. I've got quite a few ideas for the next, I think, half a dozen videos as well, so now that I've got all the time on my hands, I should be able to film some more stuff. And with my new camera, I think we should have some better quality videos as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon.